Yeah, not Malia.
It's optional, Ryan,
Oh,
whichever way you
thank
like
you,
it.
thank you,
Yeah,
Stuart. I
yeah.
appreciate that.
Tomato.
Perfect. Awesome. The second hour is a dance party. But before we get started, a quick word about what we're doing here today. There are audiences across multiple platforms. We're striving to be radically inclusive so everyone on each platform can see the other platforms. So let's start off by saying hello to each other. First, everyone on Zoom, wave hello. All right, Zoom users, I recommend keeping your screen on speaker view. And next, if you're on Facebook, say hello by leaving us messages in the live chat comments section on Facebook. All right, thank you, Facebook users. Finally, let's go into the virtual world. We are so honored to be part of this weekend's official virtual Burning Man event called Reburn 2023. It's created by the team behind the award-winning BRCVR. If the camera can pan around, you will see we are actually hosting this right now in a virtual version of our camp celestial bodies. Let's see that camera zoom there. Oh, there it is, right there. Oh yeah, that's us. It always amazes me. I gotta say, it always amazes me. All right. So we are inviting everyone to participate. So this won't be a sit back and watch experience. If you have a question at any time, just leave the question in the chat or comment section. We have moderators across all the platforms who will be letting me know of your questions. If you are in BRCVR, we will ask you to use your raise hand emoji. Redbird Bean is a moderator, and she will message you the instructions. So this always blows my mind that this whole thing can happen. So if the tech breaks or the sound starts to loop, or if you're experiencing delays, we would do the best that we can to fix it as soon as possible. Very important, if you are participating on multiple platforms, please just pick one. It'll make your streaming experience that much more enjoyable. Finally, we created Accelerant as a fundraiser for the Burning Man project. Throughout the next 2 hours, we'll be dropping a link in your platform's chat window. And please consider donating any amount, large and small. All of the donations go directly to the Burning Man project, which is a 501c3. Your donations will help to support their incredible outreach programs all year long. Burning Man is more, as we know, than just a one-week experience in the desert. It's a year-round community making a huge impact on our world. Okay, so with all of that, let's get started with today's topic, Animalia. So remember, if you have questions, just place them in the chat windows wherever you're experiencing this, and they will get to me, and I will ask our guests. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome our very first guest, Stuart Mangrum. Stuart was our very first guest back in 2021 on Accelerant. So Stuart, welcome back, and it's so good to see you.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. It's good to see you here. And our second guest, appearing for the first time on Accelerant, he has brought art to Burning Man 3 times, and we will show you those art projects momentarily. But first, please welcome NiNo Alicea.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. So grateful to be part of this.
Yeah, thank you for being here with us. It's great to have you. Okay, Stuart, I'm going to start with you. You have been part of the Burning Man community since 1993. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Burning Man?
Well, sure. My very officious sounding title is the director of the Philosophical Center, which is a position that was created by Larry Harvey when he converted or led the conversion of Burning Man from a privately held LLC into a nonprofit organization. He wanted to make sure that there was something embedded in the nonprofit structure to preserve, as he put it, to serve as the conscience and collective memory of Burning Man. So the conscience side of that is basically, representing the 10 principles and making sure that those conversations take place. And the collective memory is actually the part I get the most fun out of. It's storytelling. So I'm involved in film production. I support our documentation team on Playa, all the filmmakers, all the photographers, book publishing, and I'm the host of Burning Man's podcast, Burning Man Live. So that's that. And on top of that, for some weird accident of history, I ended up writing the themes. So we can talk more about that later if you want.
Well, thank you for going there, because that was going to be my next question, is how did the theme building come about, and how did that land in your lap?
God, well, it's a long story, Ryan. You know, it actually starts way back in the 90s. In 1995, my first tour with Burning Man, when I was helping put together communications, Larry Harvey came up with the idea in 95 to have a theme for the event, to have a theme for the art. And it was very much to kind of create a framework for all of the pre-event performances that we did and to serve as a channel for the artist. We laughed him out of the room. I remember very well saying that, making tremendous fun of him and saying, like, what are we, the junior prom? Is it going to be Romance Under the Sea? And we shamed him into not doing it that year. And then in 96, though, he just kept pushing at it. And so we had our first theme was the Inferno in 1996. Be careful what you wish for. And it went on and on. And then actually I have come and gone from Burning Man a couple of times over the years. And in 2012, 2013, Larry called me up kind of out of the blue and said that he wanted my help writing the Cargo Cult theme. And he played to my vanity. He said that, Stuart, this is kind of touching on cultural appropriation, and they're going to kill me if I don't make it funny. And I need you to help me make it funny. So I helped him write that one, and one thing led to another. And actually, he Tom Sawyered me. Just it's been a series of being Tom Sawyered year after year. After I wrote that theme with him, a week later, I see an invitation in my email inbox to come and to some kind of man base meeting. I'm like, what is this? He goes, oh, now we have to design the man base that goes with the theme. I was like, okay, all right, it's one meeting every other week. One thing led to another. I came out of one of those meetings, and my friends Harley Dubois and Marion Goodell were kind of standing there looking at me like, Stuart, if you're just going to hang around the office, we need to make a job for you. So,
oh, that's hilarious.
So that's how I came back to Burning Man for my second tour. And so Larry and I wrote 6 or 7 themes together, and then after he passed, I've been kind of stuck with the job because nobody else wants it.
That's quite a story, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, I would say, cultural responsibility to come up with a theme every year. And I'm curious, NiNo, tell us about your first burn and why did you go?
My first burn was actually 2011, and my very dear friend of mine, yes, one of the temple alone, one of my dear friends, she was inviting me like for 3 years in a row, and I finally decided to go. And on my 4th year, which is my favorite number, 4. And when I went, I just my first art installation that I actually saw on the playa was the pier, and that kind of blew my mind. And like basically 3 years later, I was already designing something to bring to the playa, because I just wanted to be part of that kind of a community or that kind of experience on playa. And that my first art installation was God Framed in 2015 and 16, and then moving on from that, it was basically the Owl, Mukaro, and then Atabe this last year.
So we'll get to your art projects in just a second, because we do have photos of them. And I want to circle back to Stuart. So animals have always been an undercurrent at Burning Man. We've had cats, dogs, dragons, bears, sharks, rhinos, horses, bees, turtles, giraffe, owls, elephants, frogs, monkeys, snakes, at least one cockroach, an anglerfish, a lot of butterflies, and of course, a mechanical octopus. So that leads us to wonder, like, why elevate the Animalia theme in 2023?
The short story is we just needed something fun, Ryan. There's been so much struggle, so many hard years. I mean, Larry liked to say that a great theme does three things. It lends itself to visual interpretation, for all of the artists in general, and for a man base as well. It's accessible to all the participants and hopefully fun. And it speaks to the vibe, to the zeitgeist, to basically where we are in the world right now. And I got to say, the last few themes that I wrote during COVID were very much number 3 and not enough of numbers 1 and 2, right? There's a lot of heavy stuff in there, right? Think about the multiverse. God, and after this last year, which was a hard year, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, for a lot of people. I looked around and the vibe told me we want something fun. So it was, and the best compliment I've gotten about this theme was that it was the most accessible theme since the floating world, which
Interesting.
for you old timers, you may remember that was the year all the boats showed up on the playa, and we still have tons of boats, right? But the best insult I got about it was that I love this, the 3-word headline: "Year of the Furry." That's 4 words. Sorry.
Imagine so.
But I'll take that as a compliment. I'll take that as a compliment because I mean, furries deserve more respect. Anybody who can put on an outfit like that and dance around in 110-degree heat, you should have a Burning Man.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
And something you said made me think how much of what you experience in the previous year's Burning Man goes to help you decide a theme for the following year.
That's a great question. I mean, for one, I don't want to repeat a theme. Larry ended up repeating himself a couple of times, and I thought that was always kind of a cheap shot, right? We had Fertility 2.0 and Radical Ritual was kind of a rehash of anyway. I don't want to go back somewhere we've been before. But no, it's I can't really explain my process other than to try to, like I said, try to feel like where we are, and think a lot about all of us together. There have been themes that were very clearly reflective of where the community was as a whole. Like Caravansary was one of my favorite themes, and that was reflecting the notion that the diaspora, right, and the coming and going of the Burning Man culture out into the world and back into Black Rock City. So it's kind of a mixture of what I see is happening and what I want to throw some light on, to encourage people to think about more, talk about more, and explore more. But this year, I think we just want to dress up in chicken suits and run around and be silly. Snake
skin, like looking.
I mean, you can get as serious about it as you want. I mean, it's not entirely frivolous. If you read the theme essay, there's some heavy stuff in there.
There's some heavy stuff in there.
I was inspired by there's a group out of the Venice Biennale, an architect group, who chose as their theme More Than Human, right? Which is to kind of get us out of this extraordinarily overly humanistic viewpoint of the world, right, and embrace the larger biosphere. And when we think about design, you could look at it from endangered species. Last time I checked, there were 14,000 species on the endangered species list. So if you want to get serious, there are some serious ideas in there, and you're welcome to explore those.
Well, I think dovetailing off of that, excuse the pun, the Animalia refers to the kingdom that contains all animals, including humans. And so do both of you, this question is for both of you, do you anticipate this will inspire art not just about how man interacts with various beasts on Earth, but the animalistic nature of man himself or herself, themselves?
I don't know. What do you think, mi amigo?
Well, I mean, honestly, I mean, I the way I design or the way that I work is how I get inspired, and how personally I get inspired by where I'm from and where I came from, and that's where my ideas right now, that's where they happen. So I don't know if I can actually answer your question properly, but at the end of the day, as an artist, I think that I just listen to that voice of what I think that I'm more attracted and interested in creating, and I just go for it and make something from an idea to an execution happen.
I will only add that I certainly hope so, Ryan. I mean, that's really, if you read the theme essay, once again, there's a whole essay behind this and not just a headline. And I encourage all of you to take a peek, because, you know, I worked pretty hard on writing that. But the lead quote is, it kind of says it all. It's from Heather Durham. It says, sometimes I am the beast in the darkness. So, yep, sure hope so.
I think this will be the fascinating part, right? Is just to see how people embody that theme itself, and what they bring forth with it. And NiNo, I'm going to transition to you now, considering that you have brought a number of pieces out there, two of which have been animal themed. How has this theme inspired you, especially thinking about what you just said, like you're inspired by your environment? Has this theme triggered anything or made you look at your environment differently?
Oh, for sure. I think that, you know, I love this theme, of course, because again, what we talked about, I have brought two installations that are animals, an owl and a fish. My next inspiration, or something that I really, really want to bring to the playa, it's a coquille, and it's actually our animal that is actually well known for in Puerto Rico.
And a coquille, is it a frog?
It is a frog. It is a very, very small, tiny frog. I'm surprised that we're not hearing it right now. For those that are watching, I'm actually in Puerto Rico right now, and it's actually been really interesting, because as this conversation and this talk is happening, the reason why I'm in Puerto Rico right at this moment is because we're trying to bring another version of the Múcaro for Puerto Rico to the island. So I'm actually be meeting with the municipality mayor in this part of the town, which is in the west side of the island in Aguadilla, where I'm at right now, to bring this owl that we burnt at Burning Man, and bring it as a permanent art installation, and something will be actually the first art installation, Burning Man art installation in the island. And I'm very excited to, of course, to be representing Puerto Rico on our event, and continue representing it from now on. But I have like all these future plans to just continue connecting our event with these animals that, just so I wanted to be a veterinarian. And that was actually so that's like something that is actually in my blood in a way. So the fact that I'm actually being able to create all these animals, it just brings me a lot of joy.
So Múcaro was burned at Burning Man. So when you say that you're bringing it to down there, like in what form? What form will it be shown?
Great question. So the people here in our island, they're not that knowledgeable about our event, Burning Man. So the one thing that actually put Burning Man's in their map was Múcaro in 2017. But also what happened was that it was the same year that we had the big Hurricane Maria happen too. So one of the things that inspired me is like, wait, why can I not create? When I created Múcaro at Burning Man, I brought all this beautiful community together, and I brought all these friends and all friends, new friends, whatever, together into creating this one piece, and say, why can I not recreate that experience for actually my people here in the island? So I did a proposal for to Burners Without Borders with also the global Burning Man art grant, and we are trying to bring recreate or rebuild a new Mukaro here in the island, but it will be a permanent art installation, and it will be a tourist spot for people to bring, more to bring more people into the island to actually experience Mukaro, and this time doesn't have to be burnt.
Yeah.
As my mom, she did, I was dedicated to my mom because she was a teacher.
Yes.
And she was not happy that I burnt it. Just so you know.
I was going to ask you, how does your mother feel about having Mukaro come home, basically?
Oh, yeah. Oh, she's super happy. She's actually
wow.
very excited that, one, I've been visiting the island a lot more often than before.
Yeah.
And two, she's just really excited to, as she was a teacher here in Puerto Rico for many, many years, for me to, even though that I didn't go to school to be a teacher, for me to actually just be inspired to bring something that is related to education. In this case, it will be educational, an aspect of educational for sustainability. I want to bring solar knowledge to the island. I want to bring air, solar, water, anything that is actually in the world of sustainability. That's what I want to be. Mukaro be a vessel to educate the people here in the island.
So how do you see Mukaro being that vessel to educate people? Just through its symbolism as a teacher itself, or?
No, so we're starting with one, but the idea is to create the Mukaro route around the island, and each Mukaro will talk about sustainable resources. So basically the education aspect of the Mukaro is the fact that we are either educating people about solar, educating people about, wind, or anything in that kind of world, recycling. So each Mukaro will have a theme, purpose. And in this one in particular, it will be easily placed to find, but my goal is to place the other ones kind of in hidden spots in the island. So you actually, it's like a scavenger hunt aspect of it. So you have to go find them.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes. That's why I'm here.
So I just picture you foraging through, being like, "That's the spot right there."
Yes. Yeah. And
so then your other piece, outside of Get Framed, was the fish. And can you tell us a little bit about that, specifically the fact that it kind of changed the power dynamic of the animal kingdom, where the man was now the food for what is usually the food for the man or person, excuse me. So if you could tell us a little bit about that piece.
Of course. So Atabe was actually my first experience actually creating something that is made out of steel and aluminum. And it was, I just wanted to challenge myself to create something that can actually last longer than what I did with wood and the fact that we burnt Mukaro. And when we got to Playa, after we fabricated here in Los Angeles with an amazing group of people that I'm so grateful that the universe brought me in my life, the Parliament art crew, and a few of them I saw them here actually on the Zoom call. So I'm gonna do a shout out to them. I wanted to bring this aspect of a fish in the desert, and basically once we actually got to the burn and they gave me placement on artery, the fish was supposed to be facing the sunrise, not sunset. But because of the placement of it all, I changed it right last minute on Playa. And I say, hey, we're going to flip it because I want the fish to look like he's eating the man. And it actually worked out. I'm very happy and with how he turned out to be. The man is actually being eaten by Atabe.
It's pretty amazing, actually. I mean, fits with your whole point, right?
Yeah, and well, I mean, the funny part is like, you're just guessing pretty much. You
Yeah.
think that, this will be the angle, and once you put the first pieces down on the ground, you just have to go with it and pray that it's actually going to happen, and it did.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited how it actually all worked out, and all those are pizza pans, recycle pizza pans. and the
That's a
eyes,
lot of pizzas there, NiNo. I mean,
380, 360 by
wow.
to be exact.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the amazing part about this project in particular was that I actually was able to make it completely solar. My solar programming is actually in the hitting in the tail.
Okay.
Which I want to continue creating this kinds of art installations, to also be completely sustainable.
Thank you. Yeah. So I just want to open it up to everyone. If you have questions for Stuart or NiNo, please be sure to leave it in your platform's chat window. If you're using BRCVR, use your raise your hand emoji. So I am going to go with a question here that I have to Stuart. If the Philosophical Center has a mission to provoke discourse that examines the 10 principles, and given the theme of Animalia, what principles do you think this uplifts more than others? Looks like you're muted. Uh-oh. Can we unmute Stuart? There we go.
There we go. Yeah, it's an interesting question. First of all, I resist the urge to cherry pick principles, but in this case, I'll make an exception. But they do all work together, right? So it's you have to go through the whole all of them as a checklist. At a really high level, though, I mean, there's something that's unwritten in the 10 principles, but it was something that Larry believed in very strongly. That's really the principles express respect for all life. They're profoundly humanist, but if you think about leaving no trace, it starts to get into looking at the larger environment. Immediacy, very specifically, calls out the natural world as being one of the things that we try to stay in more direct contact with. Civic responsibility, in a sense. We've treated the animal world as a sort of commons, and like all of the commons, it's disappearing pretty fast, right? And it's kind of, there's a lack of, I'd say, civic engagement there in treating the animal world as natural resources, and the first person to get them gets them. Everybody else is screwed. And inclusion, because furries are people too.
And to that point, we have a question from Zoom. It's Stuart. This is from Dustin Fassman. He asks, Stuart, what animal will you be dressing up as?
That's easy, Dustin. My personal totem animal, if I can say that, is the jackalope, and I do have a jackalope onesie that may show up.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And yeah. NiNo, do you have an animal that you would dress up as?
Yes, I it's interesting for me, because everybody says, well, are you now all into fish? And say, no, I'm still into owls. So I think it will be an owl again. I love my owl hard hat. I love my, everything. My husband is saying to me, it's like, okay, can we stop with the owls in the household? Because there's just too many owls. When with pillows and sculpture, and it get to a point that everybody started gifting me owls, and I love them all, just so you know. But I'm glad that they stopped and didn't do the fish this year.
So do you anticipate, NiNo, bringing any art projects to the playa this year that are animal themed?
Great question. So one thing that happened this year was that with Atabey, it was that the way that I designed it, I was not able to bring it the way that I was original done. I know it looks great, and I'm so happy with all the great feedback that I got from everybody, and I'm very grateful for it. But I ran out of, financial aspects and also time. And I really like the idea to bring it the way it was supposed to be on Playa. That's one thing that I really like to do, to just have an Atabey perhaps 2.0 version. But then there's another animal, again, that it will probably come into the Playa, whether it's a 24 or 25, that I really want to bring to the Playa, representing, again, my island.
And this was inspired by your time there, or anything in specific? Or can you?
Oh yeah, no, I'm inspired by a coquille. I want to bring the coquille to the Playa.
Right.
I think that it will be a really fun experience to have a coquille on Playa, and also in this time around, perhaps have a sound effect where you can actually hear how they sound in our island.
That was going to be my next question for you, is will it have a sound element, having heard what the coquille sounds like? Yeah, so that's pretty interesting.
Yes.
I'm going to take this moment to remind everyone that we are going to be dropping the fundraiser link into the chat on your platform, and please show your support for Burning Man Project if you can. So Stuart, what are your thoughts, ideas, dreams about how this theme is realized via like workshops, like how people will use this to create discourse or art projects or anything like that? It looks like, there we go.
I'm sorry, what workshops?
Yeah, like workshopping the theme, I mean, we have man, we have animal, how do you think this will play itself out? What do you anticipate in that regard?
I don't anticipate a lot of discourse over it, honestly. I hope to see and expect to see lots of animal art out there, including the man base itself, which I just want to mention that NiNo was one of the artists that we tapped on the shoulder to come up with a man base concept for this year. That's something else that's changed. I want to point out, since Larry passed away. Larry always imagined the theme and the man base kind of all of a package, or at least later in the trajectory he did. Early on, of course, there was no man base. I put it on hay bales so that people could see it further back, and that led to all kinds of shenanigans. But since Larry passed away, we've come up with not a design competition, but kind of a design conversation, where we ask 10 or so artists to come up with some concepts that we then might be able to look at for feasibility and for theme adherence, and then turn into a man-based concept. The first year we did that was in 2019. The Metamorphoses theme. That eggshell was designed by Hebe Kozo. But this year, NiNo put in a design concept. And what you want to tell people what your idea was for what a man base might look like?
Oh yeah, I mean, is it okay if I tell them?
I think so.
Okay.
This is not the final design. This is
okay.
This is an idea.
Okay, so
this is a teaser I'm hearing. Okay.
Well,
okay, forget it. I'm sorry. No, don't tell.
Don't?
Okay. No, okay. Do it. Go ahead.
Okay.
I love the suspense.
I love
the suspense.
First of all, I was so honored, and also, like, I just felt so blessed because of my Mucaro. Well, Godfrey led me to Mucaro led me to Atabey, and because of this kind of not reputation, but like my basically my calling card or my resume, they reached out and talked to me about Animalia's theme and the Men Pavilion. I'm very excited because they're going to announce it very soon. I'm not the one that they picked. It's okay. It's okay. I'm very grateful and happy that I was actually part of the 10 artists, and it was actually a really neat aspect of it, which was my proposal, which I cannot show you, so don't ask. It's I started from basically going back into where we were originated, which was in the oceans, which was from the sponges, the jellyfishes, and everything that actually started coming from the oceans. That's where all the creatures came from. So it was I call it Perla del Desierto, which is a desert pearl. And it was I can't show it to you, but it's basically based on a oyster with a pearl. And that's all I can say.
Well, what I love about that is, thinking about the playa as a prehistoric lake, right? I mean, so it is by nature a watery environment that still has tiny creatures that live under its surface that only come out when it's wet. So that's really interesting.
The fairy shrimp.
Yeah, the fairy shrimp.
And we've had historic as well as imaginary animals. Everybody remember the Ichthyosaurus puppet? It's a fantastic interactive piece.
I remember it.
Yeah.
I don't know what year. I don't know if I remember that piece.
It was probably 10 years ago or so. It was really big. The Ichthyosaurus was like this enormous whale-ish sort of creature that we found remains of under the silt in the playa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was actually on a tarp, and you could actually move the bones, like it was right. So
yeah, it was on an overhead rack.
Yeah,
like hanging, and yes, and you could move the pieces of it so you can make it swim and undulate. I can't remember the artist.
It was a skeleton of it.
Okay.
I'm not doing the artist service here, but just pointing out that there are way more animals than you could shake a stick at.
Well, and, like one of the things that it came out from my idea is like the oyster is your, like that saying that is like the world's your oyster. So it was like, for example, it's like, you're capable of doing whatever you want to intend yourself to do.
Peter just popped into chat. The artist was Jerry Snyder, who put that piece together.
Thank you for that,
Peter. Appreciate that. Excellent. So NiNo, do you have a preference of material that you use? I mean, you've done both wood and now metal. Do you have a preference on what you use?
After trying metal for my first time, I think wood will be my favorite. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. It was such a beautiful learning lesson. Or who knows, maybe a mix of both. But I definitely think that wood is more my style of, especially, the one that I'm creating here in Puerto Rico will be made out of wood. Of course, we'll have to treat it and stuff like that, but it will be a wooden structure similar to that with the one that we did at Burning Man in 2017. I do not want to completely replicate. I would like the idea to this one have her or his, because it's an soul, and it will represent whatever people actually feel more inclined to.
So that's pretty amazing. And I think we have a question from AltSpace. Give us 1 second here while we connect, and then we will hear someone's voice asking a question.
Yes, I am curious. What role does the theme of Animalia play in the virtual burn that might happen again next year?
Thank you. Do you guys have thoughts, ideas about what role Animalia would play in the virtual burn that might happen again next year? I'm seeing blinking eyes.
I'm trying to blank it. I have no idea.
No worries.
I'm
No
just
worries.
starting to
Let
think
me.
about the actual physical burn, and
So let me add. Or NiNo, did you have a response? If not, I have another question. Go for it, NiNo. Oh, I think he's muted.
Thank
There
you.
we go.
Thank you. I think that personally, in my experience, we always have brought animals to the playa. So whether it's a Trojan horse, a coyote, a hog, or I think that we all just going to continue bringing animals to the playa no matter what, whether is whether is the theme of the year or not. Yeah, I mean, I always just been inspired by animals and also the protection of them and what I feel most inclined for. And I think it's also, people at the burn, they identify with these installations and they have their own stories to tell or their own experiences to have. And perhaps someone it's very much close to an owl and they have a beautiful experience, which I actually have encountered that in the last year, that they, someone that is actually here on the Zoom call, that they got really close and had a really great connection with the owl. Same thing with this year. I had someone that approached me and talked to me about the fish and how they got a beautiful connection with the fish. So I think that hopefully, we continue inspiring other artists to continue bringing art to the playa, whether it's, the chicken, the rooster, the peacock, or whatever it is. And maybe it's your spirit animal for that year.
Yeah.
I'm recalling that the very first piece of art that was ever seen on the playa in the very first year in 1990 was a set of horses made out of willow, bent willow by the artist Serena de la Haye. I think there's something about the place, that the emptiness of the place, but surrounded by all that nature, that makes you want to fill it up. Fill it up with whatever is in your heart. And there's something else that we talk about in the theme, is that notion of there are animals that exist in our heads as much as anything else. It's our idea of what an animal is. That notional animal is interpreted through us and brought with us wherever we go.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Stuart, I mean, the playa has always fascinated me with how much of a blank canvas it actually is, right? And so anything you put against it just becomes so much more than maybe you could have ever intended it to be. But I feel like that has more weight when it's another living object, if you will, because of how stark the environment is itself. And it just becomes more surreal. I can remember learning about those fairy shrimp and being like, what? Something lives under this when it's wet? This is amazing. The whole concept fascinates me. So moving on with the animal theme, do you guys have animal art projects that you have seen out there over the years that really resonate with you? I know you said the ichthyosaurus is one, but are there any other pieces that just like ring out like, oh my goodness, like you were saying, Stuart, the first art piece out there was a horse made out of willow. I mean, I'd be curious to know what sticks in your minds.
Well, I'd call out the snail car, John Saragardi's snail car, steampunk snail. I think everyone's seen that. It's a pretty iconic Burning Man ride. Absolutely beautiful. So snails, and that reflects the reality that there are snails very nearby too. In fact, there's an endangered species of snail that only lives out in the Springs up at Fly Ranch. Rubber duckies, of course.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I see something new every year, and
Yeah.
everyone's favorite, of course, is El Pulpo Magnifico.
Yes.
Probably the most popular animal that everyone wants to have as their pet. I don't know. What do you think, NiNo?
I will say, I mean, I remember the dancing bees. I remember the Trojan horse. It was such a, like I remember they were doing arrows and trying to light it on fire. There are just so many memorable animals that have come through the playa, the hog. I think that it can be one of those things that I cannot say that there's a favorite one. But of course, I'm going to say that mines are my favorite. But besides that, I just think that the imagination. Oh, they're Pegasus.
Yeah.
The Pegasus at by Center Camp. That was pretty amazing. The whale. And I just think that again, the bear. I mean, I can continue on and on and on. The bear, the goose, so there's so many animals that already have, been on playa with us, which actually was one part of the a part of my proposal. It will be to honor all those animals that have been already on playa, and to create some sort of gallery at the man base for them.
Well, that would be interesting. That reminds me of the art piece that was out there this last year with those glass boxes. And I apologize, I do not remember the name of this, but it was the museum with all the glass boxes that illuminated, that showed the different art pieces.
I believe it's Jerry Snyder too.
Yeah, and my apologies for not remembering the name of that piece. One of our campmates actually worked on it, but I think that would be interesting to have like this museum of animal pieces out on playa.
So I believe the installation is called the museum, the Midnight Museum of One Time at Burning Man.
You are absolutely correct, and well done for remembering the name.
I actually got the owl. He made the owl.
That's right. Yes, yes, that was a part of it.
And I was able to reach out to him and say, "Hey, I would love to have it," and I have it at home. And I purchased it, awesome. And it's like, he actually was the one that inspired me with that idea of perhaps create this gallery of all the animals that have been, to the playa, and hopefully through that kind of memory lane, it creates all these beautiful encounters with strangers, friends, and new people to remember where they were. Perhaps at that precise moment when they encountered this, I mean, again, I know that I'm talking about people that have been there for 10 years plus or whatever, but I think that is just a beautiful thing to bring stuff that has happened on the playa and what memories those installations brought to all of us.
Yeah. Speaking of memories, we had a Zoom question that kind of fits perfectly with this from U-Haul. He's wondering, was anyone there for the Dusty Temple burn when the sky cleared and a huge flock of birds appeared and swooped close to the inferno in 2002 or 2003? I know I wasn't there, but I mean, you were talking about memories, and this one seemed rather apropos.
I might have taken that year off. But it triggered another memory. God, if you remember your early Burning Mans, you weren't there, or you weren't taking the right drugs. No, who remembers the bug apocalypse?
Oh yes,
it was like 5 or 6 years ago, right?
Yes, it was.
That brought a gigantic flock of birds who ate and gorged and ate all of the insects, except the ones that were left on the playa, dead, to make us ponder, is a bug moop when we were doing our LNT. But the birds, some birds actually ate so much that they died and were eaten by the ravens. So the ravens are top of the food chain out there, just so you know. They
Wow.
always survive.
Interesting that
God.
you mentioned that. When we were building Mukaro, we had a bat that came and landed inside Mukaro
Yeah.
and stayed there through the whole entire week that we're building Mukaro. And then on our last day, say, okay, it's time to find you a place where we can release you. And we captured the bat and we brought it to, I can remember the department that they actually go and take them and release them far away from the playa. But yeah, we had a bat that lived with us and inside Mukaro, and we had I'm going to skip mantas. It's an insect. The
Praying
mantas.
mantis. Yeah.
Mantis,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
The lift in the head of Mukaro, and I remember my husband picking it up, and he will just crawl on him, and
Yeah.
it was just a really interesting connections with like nature that we
Yeah.
just never experienced at the burn. But because we were working there, suddenly we had to like figure out what are you doing with this.
Well, I think that's the amazing part is having those interactions. I mean, the humans are animals enough, but when you actually have another animal that interacts with you that you have to take care of, that's
Yes.
a completely different experience. So, okay, I have one last question for Stuart. The burner community is year round. So how do you envision carrying this with us year round?
Well, I didn't see that one coming, Ryan. I came up with this theme very specifically for the Black Rock City community. I hadn't really thought about the year-round ramifications of it. Other than I don't know. You got any suggestions?
Gosh, I guess we can open it up to everyone and see what people say. Be nice to
Yeah.
animals. There we go.
Okay, great.
Be kind. Be
Yeah,
kind
be
to
kind.
animals.
Be gentle. I think your comment earlier with immediacy and civic involvement. Just being mindful of all of that and how it affects the entire chain that we live in. So
Yeah, and mindfulness too. It's like I was trying to get at earlier, that notion of that there are the real animals in the real world, and then there are mental constructs of them, right? And one of them, you think about, everyone has animals in their environment wherever they live, right? But we tend to think of them as either being, these abstractions, as being pets or being wild, predators or whatever they are, right? But they're all living beings just like you and me, right? So that I live in a suburban neighborhood that's full of skunks and possums and raccoons and all kinds of animals that you could think of as being pests. And a lot of people just think about them strictly as, get them out of my way and set some live traps or whatever. We've learned to live with them. The raccoons are particularly cunning.
Oh yeah, they are.
And tend to come in through the cat doors and all that stuff. But I figured they were here before we were. So it's we can put up with a little bit of sharing the neighborhood with the other critters.
Well, I think it also has to do with like, can we all live in harmony as opposed to figure out like, because I came here, yeah, you have to leave. It's like, let's work together and live in a place where we're harmonious among each other.
Yeah.
And I respect your space, you respect mine. Don't come into my house.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
This first hour went by very quickly, as it normally does. And Justin and Lindsay, we see you in BRCVR, and also Mr. Tweaks in green. We see you in BRCVR. Thank you for joining us. So everyone, please join us right after this for our second hour, which is a dance party with the amazing DJ Illuminatty. For those in BRVCR, we're moving to Awaken the Giants, which is done by artist Juliana Lowe. There is a porthole right at the stage. In a moment, everyone teleport over there. Not yet one moment. I can't believe I just said those words, but people are going to teleport. It's going to be amazing. For everyone else, stay where you are, and we will take you to this magical world with us with this amazing music. Thank you so much, Stuart, for joining us again, and NiNo for joining us for the first time. This discussion has been excellent, and it's been so nice to reboot Accelerant with the two of you. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to join us. Everyone else, please use the ASL sign for applause to show our guests some love. And in Altspace VR, let us show those heart emojis or those spinning little flags. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to give a few thanks to people who made Accelerant possible. A huge shout out to all of my campmates at Celestial Bodies who support Accelerant. Thank you to Andrew Barrett for conceiving of and producing this event. Thank you to Jake Green, who engineered the tech solution that has enabled this radical inclusion across multiple platforms. Thank you to Meg Cox, our incredible researcher. Thank you to Rick Towson, who is our camera person during our second hour. And our campmates, Gustav for website support, Kat, who has been our moderator on Zoom and Facebook, and our honorary campmate, Redbird Bean, who has been moderating in BRC VR. We are doing this as a fundraiser for Burning Man Project. So we're going to drop that link one last time in your chat windows on your platform. Your support goes directly to Burning Man for their year-round outreach programs. All right, everyone, are you ready for part 2? So we will be showcasing everyone dancing in BRC VR and all of you on Zoom. Don't touch your screens, as our engineer Jake will take care of that. And everyone in BRC VR, go into the porthole now. Can't believe I just said that too. All right, everyone, let's get up on your feet and let's welcome.
Oh, I got it. I like the face mask.
Mine won't go away. Right back.
Right. Ooh, but we can take a picture in the mirror.
Oh, true.
Okay. TV mode, it's in front of my face and blocking my view from everything. Mine won't go down either.
And so much of what we've done with BR-CBR is to try to
You want to
Miss the opening ceremony.
They changed everything, or I just don't remember. Go. I can't even hear you guys. I can't even hear you. I did. Here for the phone. Here.
messed up the visuals, and I just got sick every time I came into Office. Oh, you have to turn it back on. What you gotta do is turn it on.
How were you way up there? You gotta input flying. Yeah, I tried that. So flight is not available up there. I tried responding.
Spaces, and I didn't even look at it. I just marked it as red. And then you sent it, I was like,
Yay, we're partying, Jen.
that's what I had. I don't have the battery on the Oh my god, no, true.
Yeah, I suppose so.
True. I'm so glad. So that we didn't.
I think we're relieved
like,
as well.
Really input things in perspective small in a way that I didn't know before. Like, still. Spatial, like doing that
Is this a dream?
So I really need to get one of those other kind of heads. Plus, I'm also demanding right now.
Like, how do you do that? So go in your settings, and then under
Maybe they said
under
that
input, the top thing that says fly, that will click on. And then when you go flight not available here. Did we reload? Items? No, you didn't do. You don't see fly on there.
You meant October 2020.
You might need to re-enter because it wasn't enabled. You might need to re-enter.
Thank you. This is rather effective as well. cool. The over 40 group. Just do it.
That's their haircut. That's their thing.
Will this be fast? Yeah.
Right? Is that Ritz? Is that Ritz?
No, it's not good.
How do you change? You're gonna go in the app marketing.
Yeah. So you personal avatar, change your haircut. Maybe on the second page. On the second page.
Yours changes like pretty quickly on the pattern.
Third row, I think, middle.
That's our library.
Yeah, where is there? There you go. Four.
Alright. So you're saying that everyone has this head style.
We just gotta get fourth to do it too now.
Fourth man, you gotta shave your head with this. Oh, by the way, you can fly. Set yourself a flight. You can go anywhere you want to from. Here, you got that. NeoVR allowed. NeoVR, you can.
Oh yeah, yeah. Shannon,
Yeah. Some guy. Oh, it's going down. I saw you playing that murder game. But they were playing Psytrance in that world I was in, and I love Psytrance. Well, you know, if you can change
That's why I can't take a picture of you, Daddy, because you're invisible. Yeah.
There'll be some early.
I'm gonna video you, okay? Yeah, I'm gonna video you because you're invisible.
You sound pretty loud. You sound pretty loud. Me, you sound good. Yeah, I have the music. stand there. Let's get this person was saying sounds crackly to him. Sounds good to me.
I got dropped out. Did you get dropped out? Yeah. Or no?
Sounds okay. Sounds okay to me.
It's just you. And these are executive. I feel like they learned in their COVID how right? And I remember he was like, and they just loved it when you have to do something in 3 weeks. It just
Oh, yeah.
you know what, that's like
Looking good.
masochistic or useless behavior. I hate that. I can now, and we have this lady that was really pregnant, and she got parachuted and she was like, we're gonna do year one and year one and 2 weeks. We can do it. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we plan it first? You know, you're managing this. No, haven't heard much about her lately. She didn't get any grants. She was there's like she likes the new replace her. Oh yeah. Right, people love it. Our office is very, you know, like
I got it by looking.
oh, that's different. Yeah, the new.
Everybody, I hope you've had a wonderful night. I see those hearts and hands for DJ Illuminati. Thank you so much for being here. I see those hearts and hands. Come on, guys, keep it up for DJ Illuminati.
Is there something?
Hello. Thank you. I like your hair.
I used to need the pen. Oh, what I only have one pen.